Have you ever woken up in the morning and felt that something's missing? That silent feeling, like life's moving forward but you aren't. You've got work to do, bills to pay, maybe even achievements people would call success. Yet deep inside, there's this quiet voice that whispers, "Is this it?" Most people never talk about that emptiness. They distract themselves. A scroll through Instagram, another cup of coffee, another plan to start tomorrow. But if you've ever felt that gap between who you are and who you could be, this book, The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, might just be the bridge. Hal Elrod's story begins where most people's stories could have ended, in tragedy. At just 20 years old, he was hit head-on by a drunk driver at over 70 miles per hour. His heart stopped for 6 minutes. The doctors said he'd never walk again. But Hal didn't accept that as his ending. He turned it into his rebirth. And that's the heart of this book. Transformation isn't about massive breakthroughs. It's about small, intentional beginnings. Specifically, how you begin each morning. Hal realized something most of us never consciously think about. Your morning is your foundation. The first hour after you wake up determines your mindset, energy, focus, and emotional resilience for the rest of the day. You either control it, or it controls you. He noticed a pattern among the world's most successful people, from CEOs to athletes to artists. They all had one thing in common. They owned their mornings. They didn't stumble into their day. They designed it. But here's the truth. You don't need millions of dollars or a private gym or some guru-level schedule to do that. What you need is intention. If you're new here, welcome to Deep Dive, the place where we break down life-changing books and ideas to help you think sharper, live deeper, and grow stronger. If this kind of content inspires you, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our next deep dive. Now, back to Hal's story. After his accident, his body healed, but mentally he was lost. He was alive, yes, but directionless. Then one morning, it hit him. If he wanted to rebuild his life, he had to start with his mornings. He designed a simple routine that combined silence, movement, learning, and reflection. And over time, it didn't just rebuild his confidence, it rebuilt his entire life. From a man who could barely walk, Hal became a successful coach, author, and motivational speaker. But here's the deeper lesson, the miracle. Morning isn't just about waking up early. It's about waking up to your potential. It's about realizing that you have more control than you think, that change doesn't come from outside, it begins within, one morning at a time. Think about this. Every sunrise is a fresh page in your life story. The question is, are you writing it consciously or letting it write itself? This first chapter, the next level of success, isn't about chasing achievements or external validation. It's about elevating your inner world so your outer world naturally follows. Hal says something powerful. If you want your life to be extraordinary, you have to do something extraordinary first. And that extraordinary thing isn't climbing a mountain or starting a company. It's simply showing up for yourself before the world demands your attention. Picture this. You wake up tomorrow, and instead of grabbing your phone, you sit in silence. You take a breath, maybe stretch, maybe write a thought. You move your body. Read something that expands your perspective. You don't react to the world. You create your own energy. That's the miracle. Because when you master your mornings, you start mastering your life. The truth is, you don't need to change everything overnight. You just need to start. Your morning is your chance to reset, refocus, and remind yourself who you're becoming. And if you can give yourself even 30 minutes of intentional energy each day, that's not a routine, that's a revolution. So as we move deeper into this book, remember this. Transformation doesn't begin at the finish line. It begins at dawn. Sometimes life hits harder than we ever imagined. For Hal Elrod, that moment came when he was 20. A drunk driver crashed into his car at 70 miles an hour, the kind of impact that should have ended everything. His heart stopped for 6 whole minutes. Doctors said he'd never walk again. But somehow he did. That accident didn't just break his bones. It broke the illusion that life will always go according to plan. He realized that survival isn't just about staying alive. It's about finding a reason worth living for. When he left the hospital, Hal was physically healing but emotionally empty. He had survived the worst, yet he felt lost. That's when he made a simple but life-changing decision. If my life is going to change, it has to start with me. And that decision began with his mornings. You see, we all wait for big turning points, new jobs, big promotions, the perfect timing. But Hal discovered that transformation doesn't happen in a single event. It happens in small, consistent choices, especially the ones you make before the world even wakes up. He started waking up early. No grand plan, no spiritual awakening, just an experiment. He wanted to take 1 hour every morning to work on himself, to grow, reflect, and realign. What he discovered became the foundation of the miracle morning. He called it Savers, 6 powerful practices that can completely shift your mindset and energy. Silence, through meditation or prayer. Affirmations, positive self-talk to shape beliefs. Visualization, imagining your success before it happens. Exercise, moving your body to awaken your mind. Reading, feeding your intellect and curiosity. Scribing, journaling to organize your thoughts. At first glance, it looks simple, but the simplicity is the secret, because most of us know what would make us better. We just don't do it. Every morning, Hal committed to his Savers routine before checking his phone, before scrolling news feeds, before reacting to the chaos. And slowly, everything changed. His energy rose, his confidence rebuilt, his sense of purpose returned. Here's the thing. When you dedicate even 30 to 60 minutes each morning to your own growth, the rest of your day follows your lead. You stop reacting, you start directing. And it's not just philosophy. Modern neuroscience backs this up. When your morning starts with focus and intention, your prefrontal cortex, the decision-making part of your brain, stays stronger throughout the day. You literally train your mind for better performance and resilience. Most people hit snooze not because they're lazy, but because they feel powerless. They wake up already behind, already tired, already anxious, already playing catch-up with the world. The miracle morning flips that script. It reminds you that every sunrise is a new reset button, and you decide how to press it. Hal's story spread like wildfire. What started as one man's recovery routine became a global movement, followed by millions across the US, UK, and beyond. From CEOs in New York to teachers in London, from entrepreneurs in Berlin to students in California, people started reclaiming their mornings. Why? Because it worked. People began reporting real, measurable changes: more focus, better health, improved relationships, renewed sense of meaning, all because they decided to wake up differently. Think about it. When was the last time you woke up excited? Not rushed, not half dead from caffeine, but genuinely ready to live. The truth is, the miracle isn't in the morning. The miracle is you. The morning just gives you the space to find it again. Hal says something profound. The moment you accept total responsibility for everything in your life is the moment you claim the power to change anything. That's what the miracle morning is all about. Not motivation, not hype, but ownership. It's about realizing that your life doesn't get better by chance, it gets better by design. And your design begins with how you start your day. So tomorrow morning, when the alarm goes off, don't hit snooze. Take a breath, sit up, smile. You've just been given another chance, another sunrise to redesign your life. Because every morning holds the potential to rewrite your story. Have you ever looked around and wondered why most people never really live the life they dream about? Why so many settle for good enough, a stable job, a decent paycheck, a predictable routine, but never touch their real potential? Hal Elrod calls this the 95% reality check, the brutal truth that 95% of people spend their lives surviving instead of thriving. They wake up, rush through their mornings, and drift through their days on autopilot, waiting for something external to change while their inner world slowly fades. It's not that they're incapable, it's that they've accepted mediocrity as normal. Society has programmed us to believe that being realistic is wise, that dreams are for the naive, and that comfort equals success. But comfort is the quiet killer of potential. The moment you stop challenging yourself is the moment you start dying in slow motion. Hal realized that people don't fail, because they lack talent. They fail because they stop trying. They stop believing that their effort matters. The tragedy isn't in aiming high and missing, it's in aiming low and hitting. And here's the scary part. It's easy to fall into that 95%. You start by compromising on small things, skipping the gym once, ignoring the book you said you'd read, postponing that side project. And slowly those little choices pile up, shaping the person you become. Hal describes 3 main reasons people stay stuck in the average majority: the weight of the past, the comfort of mediocrity, and the habit of blame. We let our old failures define us. We confuse stability with fulfillment, and we hand our power away by blaming others, our boss, our partner, the economy, fate. But the moment you stop pointing fingers and start taking ownership, everything shifts. The top 5% of people, the ones living with purpose and freedom, aren't born different. They simply refuse to let yesterday decide who they are today. They wake up each morning with the mindset that growth is non-negotiable. They don't wait for motivation. They create it through action. And that's what separates them from the rest. Hal challenges us to look in the mirror and ask, am I choosing to be part of the 95% or the 5%? Because that choice, made in quiet moments when no one's watching, decides the quality of your life. He says, your level of success will rarely exceed your level of personal development, because success is something you attract by the person you become. Think about that. Success isn't pursued, it's magnetized. It's the byproduct of who you are when no one's clapping. So what keeps us from becoming that person? Fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of stepping outside the familiar. But fear is just faith in the wrong outcome. It's imagining the worst instead of believing in the best. The 5%ers feel fear too. They just don't let it drive. They turn fear into fuel. They use discomfort as a compass, not a stop sign. If you've ever felt stuck, if you've ever felt like your life is looping on repeat, maybe it's because you've been playing someone else's script, one written by society's expectations instead of your own vision. Hal's message is clear. Wake up. Literally and metaphorically, wake up to your potential. Wake up to the possibility that your story isn't over. You can rewrite it, starting tomorrow morning. You don't need permission. You don't need perfect conditions. You just need to decide that you're done being average. The 95% reality check isn't meant to scare you. It's meant to shake you. To remind you that life is too short to coast. The future isn't waiting for someone else. It's waiting for you to show up differently. So when that alarm rings tomorrow, remember this. Most people will hit snooze, but a few will rise. A few will take that first breath of morning air and know they're stepping into the 5%. Be one of them. Because while the world sleeps, the extraordinary ones are already building their next chapter. Every once in a while, life hands us a mirror, a brutally honest reflection of who we've become and how far we've drifted from who we could be. That's where Hal Elrod's Life Transformation Challenge steps in, not as motivation, but as a wake-up call. He realized that true change doesn't come from big decisions or grand gestures. It's built day by day, habit by habit. That's why he created what he called the 30-Day Life Transformation Challenge, a simple, structured reboot for the mind and soul. He discovered that when you commit to something for 30 straight days, your brain literally begins to rewire itself. The first 10 days feel like hell. Your body resists, your mind argues, your comfort zone claws to pull you back. The next 10 days, that's the messy middle. Discipline starts to kick in, but the old patterns still whisper. And the final 10 days, that's when the magic happens. The habits that once felt impossible now feel natural, and you begin to crave the version of yourself that you're becoming. Hal says, transformation isn't about adding new things, it's about subtracting excuses. His system uses 6 morning practices: silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing. But the real challenge isn't doing them. It's showing up every single morning when no one's watching. Most people underestimate what a month of consistent mornings can do. They think a few missed days won't matter, but every missed morning is a missed opportunity to become who you said you'd be. Imagine waking up before the world, stepping into quiet air as the first light hits your window, and realizing this is your hour. your private rebellion against mediocrity. That first sip of water, that stretch, that moment of stillness before chaos. That's where transformation begins. The challenge forces you to confront your own resistance, not the world's, because the enemy isn't your schedule, your job, or your fatigue. It's that voice in your head that says, tomorrow. Hal's challenge is an act of war against that voice. It's you versus the old you. And if you win that battle for 30 mornings straight, you'll never go back. He explains that the mind adapts faster than we think. Every morning you show up, you cast a vote for your future self. Miss a day and you've just voted for the past. So what would happen if for the next 30 days you refused to hit snooze? What if you chose discipline over comfort, growth over excuses? That's what the Life Transformation Challenge demands. Not perfection, but persistence. The most powerful moment isn't at the end of 30 days. It's around day 15, when you realize you've already changed. The way you talk to yourself is different. The way you walk into a room feels lighter. You start noticing small wins, better focus, sharper thinking, deeper calm. The outer world hasn't shifted yet, but your inner world has. And that's where every real change begins. Hal's own students described it as waking up to a new self. One said, "I didn't just become more productive, I became more me." And that's the whole point. To strip away distraction until what's left is raw, intentional living. The 30-day challenge isn't about mornings. It's about mastery. Over your thoughts, your energy, your choices. It's proof that greatness doesn't come from luck or genius, but from doing the small, boring things long enough for them to compound into transformation. Hal reminds us that your habits are the invisible architecture of your destiny. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So if your system is chaos, your life will reflect it. But if your system is purpose, every sunrise becomes a chance to build something extraordinary. 30 days might sound small, but it's long enough to prove one thing: that you were never broken, just undisciplined. And discipline, when repeated long enough, turns into freedom. Most people wake up and immediately hand control of their morning and their mind to chaos. Notifications, emails, caffeine, rush. Hal Elrod's Life SAVERES is the antidote, a 6-step formula designed to flip that autopilot into awareness. It's deceptively simple, but simplicity is what makes it work. S stands for silence, not the absence of noise, but the presence of peace. When you begin your day with stillness, you reset your nervous system. Meditation, prayer, or even a few mindful breaths. It's how you teach your brain to stop reacting and start responding. A is for affirmations. Not the cheesy, "I am amazing" stuff, but intentional self-programming. You speak to your subconscious the way an athlete speaks before a championship, calm, confident, focused. Because your mind listens to what you repeat most. Say you're unstoppable long enough, and one day you start acting like it. V is visualization. Close your eyes and see yourself already living the life you want, the house, the career, the peace. But don't just picture it, feel it. Your brain can't tell the difference between real and vividly imagined experiences, so when you visualize with emotion, you're rehearsing your future into reality. It's neuroscience disguised as optimism. E is exercise. You don't need to run a marathon, just move. 10 push-ups, a short jog, yoga on your bedroom floor. Anything that reminds your body it's alive. When you elevate your heart rate, you flood your system with endorphins and dopamine, natural focus enhancers that sharpen your mind for the day ahead. R stands for reading. Hal called it feeding your brain before the world feeds you noise. Read something that stretches your mind. Not doom scrolling, not headlines, but ideas that make you think, question, and evolve. Books are time machines. Every page saves you from mistakes someone else already made. And finally, S, scribing, the forgotten art of journaling. Writing clears the fog. When you put your thoughts on paper, you extract clarity from chaos. You see patterns, truths, and emotions that you didn't know were steering your choices. Every great thinker, from Marcus Aurelius to modern CEOs, had a journaling habit. Because writing isn't for documenting your life, it's for designing it. Combined, these 6 habits form the backbone of the miracle morning, but they're more than morning rituals. They're identity rituals. Every day you do them, you cast votes for the person you want to become. Over time, those votes add up until your old self can't recognize you. Hal's genius wasn't in inventing something new, it was in connecting ancient wisdom to modern chaos. These practices have existed forever. Monks practiced silence, philosophers wrote. Warriors visualized victory before battle. But Hal made them accessible to anyone with an alarm clock. He proved that transformation isn't about time, it's about intention. You don't need to wake up at 5 a.m. You just need to wake up with purpose. The life saviors work because they balance every dimension of your being: mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual. Miss one, and you'll feel the imbalance. Master them, and your mornings stop being routine. They become ritual. Imagine starting your day grounded, inspired, and sharp, not chasing energy, but creating it. That's the difference between living reactively and living intentionally. It's why high performers, from athletes to entrepreneurs, swear by this system. Because when you win your morning, you don't just improve your day, you rewrite your life's trajectory. The life-saviors are not theory, they're practice. And practice done consistently becomes identity. So tomorrow morning, before you check your phone, check in with yourself. Sit in silence, speak your truth, see your goals, move your body, feed your mind, write your story. That's how ordinary mornings become miraculous, and one conscious hour at a time. The truth is, there's never a perfect time to change your life. There's only now. Your miracle morning starts now. Not tomorrow, not next week, not after things calm down. The difference between people who transform and people who talk about transformation is simple. One group starts before they feel ready. Hal Elrod says the first hour of your day is the steering wheel of your entire life. The way you spend it decides whether you'll drift through another day of distraction or build a future that actually means something. Most of us wake up already losing, scrolling through our phones, checking other people's lives before we've even checked in with our own. But imagine waking up before the noise, stepping into the soft glow of dawn while the world still sleeps, and realizing this silence is your reset button. This is where you build yourself before the world starts pulling you apart. Hal reminds us that the reason most people fail to change isn't lack of desire, it's lack of commitment. We wait for the right motivation, the right time, the right energy, but all that waiting just becomes another form of procrastination. The secret isn't to wait until you're ready, it's to act your way into readiness. When you move, the motivation follows. When you decide, clarity appears. Your miracle morning is about reclaiming your agency, one sunrise at a time. Hal teaches that every morning is an audition for the person you want to become. Each time you wake up with intention, even if it's just 5 minutes earlier, you're training your brain to choose purpose over passivity. It's not about perfection. Some mornings will be messy, late, chaotic, that's fine. What matters is showing up again tomorrow. Every repetition builds identity. Soon, waking up early stops being a task and becomes who you are, a person who leads their day instead of reacting to it. And this isn't just philosophy, it's science. Studies on habit formation show that consistency reshapes the brain's reward circuits. The more you align your mornings with intention, the more dopamine your brain releases in response to progress. You literally start craving growth. That's the biological side of discipline. It stops being punishment and becomes pleasure. Hal says your why will carry you when your willpower won't. So before you even set your alarm, define why you're doing this. Is it to feel peace? To become unstoppable? To finally keep a promise to yourself? Because when you know your why, waking up becomes a statement, not an obligation. The point of the miracle morning isn't to turn you into a morning person. It's to turn you into a conscious person. To remind you that success, fulfillment, and self-respect all start in the first quiet minutes of the day. Picture this, it's 6 a.m. The world is still asleep. You pour a glass of water, stretch your body, breathe deeply, and feel the weight of the world slide off your shoulders. For the first time in a long time, you're not reacting, or you're creating. That's what Hal means when he says, you don't need to find yourself, you need to build yourself. And the bricks of that new self are laid every morning you choose awareness over autopilot. So tomorrow when your alarm rings, don't think, just move, sit up, breathe, smile. Because that one small act, that single decision, can trigger an entirely different timeline for your life. The future isn't built in years or months, it's built in mornings. Each sunrise is a blank page. And the miracle morning teaches you to pick up the pen. The question is, will you write the same story again, or finally begin the one you were meant to live? The answer starts with what you do right after you wake up. Every transformation starts with one decision, but it survives only through repetition. That's the science of habits, the invisible framework shaping your identity. Hal Elrod explains that the miracle morning isn't about motivation, it's about wiring your brain for consistency. Neuroscientists call it neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to reprogram itself through repetition. Every time you follow through on a promise to yourself, like waking up early or meditating, you strengthen a neural pathway that says, I'm someone who shows up. The first few days are chaos. Your body resists, your mind argues, and your comfort zone fights back. But if you persist, something extraordinary happens. The resistance weakens, the habits stick, and suddenly effort becomes automatic. This is where most people quit, right before the transformation. They assume they lack discipline, but in reality, they just haven't pushed far enough for their identity to catch up. Because habits don't just change what you do, they change who you believe you are. James Clear said it best, every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. Hal's mornings are a masterclass in this idea. When you meditate, you're voting to be calm. When you write, you're voting to be self-aware. When you read, you're voting to be curious. And the accumulation of those votes creates identity. Most people think transformation is about willpower, but willpower fades. What endures is identity, when you no longer have to force yourself to act, because action aligns with who you are. Hal even jokes that you don't have to become a morning person. You have to become the kind of person who values growth more than sleep. That shift, from external effort to internal identity, is where miracles happen. Science backs it up. Habits formed through positive emotions stick longer than those driven by guilt or fear. So, when you finish a workout, don't just tick it off. Feel gratitude for the strength it gave you. When you write your goals, don't rush it. Visualize the person you're becoming. You're not building habits, you're reinforcing beliefs. And that's what separates temporary motivation from permanent evolution. Hal's philosophy fuses neuroscience with psychology. Every repetition rewires the reward system in your brain. At first, your brain resists change because it seeks efficiency, but when it senses consistency, it stops fighting. It's like taming a wild horse, rough at the start, smooth once trust builds. The trick is to anchor your habits to identity, not outcome. Don't wake up early to get things done. Wake up early because you're the type of person who honors your potential. Don't read for 30 minutes because it's on a checklist. Read because you're the kind of mind that never stops expanding. When your habits become identity-driven, discipline stops being a fight. You no longer say, I have to. You say, I do. That's where the miracle morning transcends routine. It becomes ritual. Each morning, you're not just preparing for the day. You're reinforcing who you are. The more you practice, the easier it gets. Not because life gets simpler, but because you get stronger. Over time, that 1 hour in the morning becomes the blueprint for your entire mindset. You start showing up differently in meetings, relationships, decisions. People start noticing the calm in your tone, the clarity in your words, the confidence in your choices. But it all began with that one choice: to get out of bed when your comfort begged you not to. That's the science of identity change. Small, consistent actions that reprogram your brain's definition of normal. Soon, excellence becomes your baseline. That's the essence of the miracle morning. It's not about waking up early, it's about waking up to yourself. Every book ends, but the real story starts after you close it. The miracle morning was never about waking up early, it was about waking up to your life. Hal Elrod ends his journey by reminding us that mornings are not a ritual of discipline, They're a declaration of purpose. What you do after the sun rises is your loudest statement to the universe. I am still here, and I choose to grow. Every day you wake up is a chance to redesign the blueprint of your existence. And that's what Hal calls the new beginning mindset. Most people waste their energy trying to rewrite their past chapters, forgetting that today is a blank page. The moment you realize that everything you've been through, your failures, heartbreaks, mistakes, was training, not punishment, you step into a different league of clarity. Hal's story is proof that pain can either bury you or build you, depending on how you wake up from it. When he was told he'd never walk again, he decided to run. When he was told his career was over, he decided to teach others how to start. That's not optimism, that's rebellion with discipline. In the final section of The Miracle Morning, he challenges you to ask a question most people avoid. If I died today, would I be proud of how I lived yesterday? That question hurts because it's real. It forces you to admit whether you're creating your life or just surviving it. Hal doesn't want you to build a perfect morning routine. He wants you to build a meaningful existence. Purpose isn't found, it's crafted through repetition of things that matter. He says, when you control your morning, you control your destiny. It's not just a quote, it's the spiritual math of life. What you feed your mind in the first hour multiplies through every hour that follows. If you start with chaos, you spread chaos. If you start with clarity, you spread light. Hal's morning is his temple. And the beautiful part? You don't need money, followers, or luck to build yours. You need commitment. You need to show up for yourself when no one else is watching. That's the new definition of discipline. Devotion to your own potential. Imagine this. A year from now, you wake up, look back, and realize that your life completely shifted. Not because of one massive event, but because you consistently chose yourself each morning. That's the power of micro-commitments. You don't rebuild a life overnight. You build it sunrise by sunrise. The book's final message isn't wake up early, it's wake up fully. Open your eyes to your own agency, your own patterns, your own power. Forgive your past for what it didn't know and honor your present for still showing up. That's spiritual maturity. To start again without resentment. As Hal says, your life isn't defined by the problems you face, but by the consciousness you bring to solving them. So the next time your alarm rings, remember, you're not just waking up to a day, you're waking up to a new chance to redefine your entire story. Stand in that silence, feel your heartbeat and remind yourself, you made it here. Now decide who you'll become next. Because the real miracle isn't the morning itself, it's you.